Hello, my name is Laide Babalola. I'm from Nigeria and I live in Ghana. Emotional health. The thing that comes to my mind is emotional well-being, but then thinking about emotional well-being itself is difficult to break it down. I've not really thought about it, but I guess how you fare emotionally, it's something that now I'm going to have to give a lot of thought.
A big welcome to the Hearts and Minds Aloud community. Thank you for being able to join me today. It's been an unusually long break between our last episode and today's episode. And I'm sure you're aware, or you also, like me, feel like it's been a lot going on in the last 3 weeks. That you are here and able to tune in means you're alive and well. And for that, I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for the fact that I'm alive and well. Seeing as everything that's been going on makes you remember that it's a very thin line between being healthy and safe and whatever else. So for that, we're very grateful. In our last episode, our focus was on learning, and I mentioned, or did I promise? I almost felt like saying I promised that in the subsequent episode we will get in touch with people who had experiences to share about learning. Now, like my guest before the introduction said, we don't always have to have the answer. We will not always know the answer. This is why we learn, and we find different ways to do that. We find that learning is a very fundamental part of our lives because, you know, we learn things every day that keep us surviving, and sometimes the things that we learn may be as basic as learning to wash our hands. Yep. Who would have thought that in 2020, one of the fundamental things that we would have to teach people or to remind people would be to wash their hands. Anyways, we again are going on to find out how best we can improve the learning experience for ourselves by talking to people. I had a few guests who were very candid and very honest, very patient to share their experiences. And yes, some of them got me laughing, and so I didn't think that it was fair to laugh alone. So I thought that I'll share them with you. Stay tuned and keep your comments coming, because that's what keeps this community thriving. My name is Baba Dadzi, and you are listening to Hearts and Minds Aloud.
Hello, I'm Victor Kobna from Ghana. I'm in full-time employment and I'm a student as well. I attend lectures in the evenings after work. Having to deal with demands from work and whichever course you are studying can be very daunting. When it comes to information retention, I make notes whilst I'm reading. I make notes how I understand what I'm reading, and then I have group discussions. And before exams, I've also found out that adopting mnemonics goes a long way to help you remember the things that you read. I think having a plan and sticking to it goes a long way to help, and also find a pattern that works for you.
Oh my goodness, grad school can be hard, but we still have to get through it somehow.
Hello, my name is Zarka. I am from Afghanistan and I've studied in different countries, like a lot, and I've changed school a lot. It's new information some of them is new information. Some of the information, it's like I already know and it's getting to me, like I'm learning again the information that I already knew about. Most important and favorite part of my study is assessments. So for me, the best way to learn something and understand and put it in memory and remember it again, like retaining that information, is only like it's the best way for me to do is if I teach it to someone right away. Like if I'm listening to it, I study it, and I come home and I tell it to someone, like my sister or my friends. Like I teach it back to someone. It's the best way for me to remember and understand the information. And especially I like doing it with my friends from the same class, because if I'm teaching them and if I make a mistake, they correct me. That's the best part. I like that a lot, because if I'm teaching you and you can correct me, that's like the best way to learn and remember information. My first language will be Pashto, and it has never been the language of instruction for me. Language of instruction for me has always been English. I'm like a bilingual, so I speak 4 to 5 languages. And if I need to understand something and I don't get it in English, I try to tell myself a simple version in another language, that be Pashto or Urdu. Urdu is something that I understand a little bit better than my own language, I would say. Language sometimes do become a barrier for me because I'm not so good with English, so I need to actually understand the complicated terms sometimes teachers and professors use, and my friends also. And if I read them, I need to Google the word, like I need to go check the dictionary. I need to find the synonyms for that. If I have different synonyms for the word, I understand better. So language has been a barrier in that sense for me. Like synonyms wise, I need to understand the other word similar to the same in order to understand the whole concept. Whoever is struggling with learning, the best way to learn is to teach it back to someone. Like understand a concept and repeat it to yourself. Look in the mirror and pretend like you're a teacher. Like that's how I've gained confidence in doing presentations in classes. Like I just go randomly, stand in front of the people in the class, and I start speaking. So I got confidence like that. Similarly, if I need to learn something and understand better, I just teach it back to myself, to people around me, especially from the same class. Just tell them to be quiet and listen to you for a while, try to understand what's going on, and then if they find that you're making a mistake, they can raise their hand and tell you, like, okay, this was not like this, it was like that. They can correct you, but the best way to learn is to teach. So that's how it's been for me. Like it works best for me if I teach it back to someone right away, and then later if I'm studying again, I need to say it out loud for myself to hear it myself and understand, and try to remember what the professor said, and teach it to my friends and colleagues around me, and they correct me if I'm wrong, and if not, then I like that way. I think that's the best way to learn anything.
Francis, you're on campus now. I assume that you're a student.
Yes, please. I'm level 300.
So what courses have you studied in the past 3 years?
Psychology.
Interesting.
And human resource management.
Of the two, which one is your favorite?
Yes, I like psychology.
You like psychology. Hey, is there a reason why?
You get to learn more about human behavior, and
True.
that's why I like the course.
Which of the subjects in psychology is your favorite too?
I think learning.
How ironic. What do you like about the subject learning?
The way they use some theories on learning to predict the behavior of people.
What are some of the things that you think makes learning possible or makes learning easy?
The environment you find yourself and the state of your mind.
How about language?
Okay, the language too.
Do you find that language has an impact in the way you learn? So maybe does it impair your learning, or does it encourage it in any way?
It encourages me because we use English most of the times.
Okay.
And English is the official language.
Is that your first language?
No, that's not my first language. I speak Chi.
Chi is your first language?
Yes.
Okay.
But since we don't use Chi in class, and the English is the only language we use, I think the English is better.
It's better. Do you find yourself thinking in Chi sometimes, which makes you does that make you understand the material a bit better?
Yes, I sometimes translate it.
Okay.
And it helps.
What has been your best experience so far? Your best learning experience so far?
Okay, so in the university community, you get to meet so many people from different places with different backgrounds. So you just have to learn how you can adapt to their situation by not imposing on them what you think is right.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. Dre, where are you from?
North Kanish.
So are you originally from Accra?
From Cape.
If you go.
Yes.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Enjoy. So Cape Coast in Ghana, for the beautiful listeners who don't know. Dre, what language do you speak then? What language would you say is your first language?
Chi.
Chi. Okay. So what subjects are you studying, Dre?
Business administration.
Nice, the businessman. Okay, so when you compare how you were learning in senior high school, for example, and the experience of learning here for the first semester, how has it been like?
Okay, I'll say with SHS, the teachers force you to learn, but here, like, the lecturers don't really bother about you learning. They just leave you to do your own thing, and that pushes you to learn on your own.
Do you think this freedom actually helps you to achieve more, like to be able to study, to grasp new information and to grasp relevant information for your course?
I think if you know what you want in school, like, the freedom is okay for you.
With you, Dre, what's your favorite subject?
Environmental management and maybe com skills. With environmental management, that one you can take, let's say when you are given an assignment or something, it deals with your environment, so you find it easy to work within that range. Okay,
so when you are learning your course material, do you find it easy? Do you find it interesting?
Yeah, it's very interesting because it's very interactive.
It's very interactive. So the interaction that helps you?
Helps me.
Okay. Do you find that you're able to retain information from this class easily?
Yes.
Okay. Can you say maybe one thing about the class that helps you retain information?
Presentations and
The presentations also help you.
I remember I was once called to present and it came out of the bloom just like that. I was just called to present. So it gave me the courage and for me to deliver whatever I had. So,
Excellent. Great. So everybody was just rooting for you.
yes.
Okay, in terms of language, I know that the language of instruction here is English, right? Do you ever struggle with the difference in language in class?
No, I don't struggle because we've been using English to learn since primary. So we've adapted the language to ourselves.
Excellent. So you don't find yourself thinking in trees sometimes?
No. It's just maybe when you are explaining something to a friend and you maybe can't find the right words in English that you switch to tree or maybe ga or something. Yes.
Okay. And Dre, what would you say can be done to make your learning experience generally better, more interesting?
I say they should just use more. It should be fun when learning. Like it should be natural. Like we should just go with the flow when you're learning. That's
Dre says to go with the flow. Thank you so much for your time and for engaging us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I'm Justice. I'm from Machim in the Eastern region. I'm in level 100, reading Geography, Political Science and Dance Studies. From last semester, it was quite interesting. The lecturer has a way of making us learn. Even if you don't learn, at least you still remember something. This semester, Geography is the most difficult course. So we formed a study group where we would have to be learning and then taking it from each other rather than depend on the lecturer and then the slides.
Okay, so what do you think the lecturer could do to help you understand what he's teaching better?
He involves us a lot, but then he's actually pinpointed just a few in the class, and then he's always with this and that and that, and then it looks like the rest. And he's also very lenient. That's how I see. He's extremely lenient. He would say that if I see you talking, he would walk out, and then when he sees you talking, we just give you another chance. When he's talking, people also be talking in the class. Sometimes he sees and just overlooks it.
And you mentioned that there's one lecturer who teaches in such a way that you really remember the material.
Yes,
Political science, you said. What does he do to help, your memory of the course material?
Okay, so political science is actually, you have to be updated because it's all about governance and a whole lot of stuff in Ghana. So, and he is really, really enriched in that field. He's mostly on Peace FM. He goes to Peace FM on Mondays. He's seen on GH1 and Enjoy News. And then when he's in class, sometimes there are certain things, no matter how you say them in English, it actually it makes no sense. Not like it makes no sense, but then there's no way to understand it unless maybe it is said in the local dialect. So he mostly intertwines or he uses them interchangeably. He speaks English, then he speaks electricity, and then he has a way of, he's very open. He even gives us the chance to not call him by give him a title. Whenever we want to speak to him, we just mention his name, say his day name. He's called Kwame, so we just call him Kwame. And then he has a way of, when he wants you to answer a question, probably, which school are you from? So if he gets it wrong, then he will just say, probably, if it's wrong, he'll tell you had 1 over a million, and then the class, you laugh, the class is fun, so you just have to, it keeps the class really interesting.
Sounds like you've had a very good experience with this man. What's one word that he'd said in a local language that, made it easy for you to understand? Can you remember something like that?
There was one incident, was introduction to the study of political science, and then there was one thing, he didn't actually say it in a local language, but he said when you say something to his daughter and then she's actually not interested, she'll be like, forget it. So instead of forget it, she would say, forget it. So that one actually, it helps us remember. So if in case there is something and then you just don't agree, then we all say, forget it. Then it makes it the class really.
That's excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
I'm Sarah Muedem from the Volta region, specifically Zoga Kope.
So seeing you here, I assume that you are a student.
Yes, I'm a level 100 student. My combinations are geography, dance studies, and political science.
Okay, that's cool. Which is your favorite of the 3 subjects?
Geography class. I loved geography from SHS, and so it's from the teacher though, because the way the teacher used to teach to us to understanding, that is why I think I like geography. And then looking at things in the university too, I heard that coming into the university you have to behave like an adult, and so when the lecturer is teaching, any terms you hear from him, you just have to go home and then look for a dictionary and then get the meaning. You can also use it next time when you're so The lecture for geography teacher it's cool for me because he explains things to my understanding. That's why I like geography.
Would you say that you pay attention in class often?
Yeah, I do. But sometimes get distracted with sleep because when the class is dull. So when you have a bottle of water, you sip one, then you're awake again.
Then you manage yourself
Yes.
like that. Okay. So, but usually what helps you pay attention in class?
Okay, when the slides have images,
Right.
yeah, sometimes they make me attentive in class.
And do you find that you are able to remember the things that you learn in class easily?
Yes, not mostly, but especially when the lecturer links it with our real life situations. Yeah, it makes me remember something.
My name is Xiaoyan Kong. I'm from China. My university has like a one study away site here in Accra, and I'm very curious about Africa in general, and this is the only study away site that's in Africa, so that's why I come here. My major is interactive media arts, but here back in my campus in Laboni, I study documenting the African city, so we use film camera to trying to document something.
Now, in terms of classroom learning, what has the experience been like for you, being able to, getting familiar with your course material, being able to memorize them, being able to retrieve the things that you memorize?
For the classes that I took so far, community psychology or like the dance class, obviously because I love it, I enjoy it, so I think I remember it pretty fast. And for community psychology class, I guess it also depends on the professor, She's really a great experienced scholar, and the way she teaches, it's just very clear. But I would also say that some other experience, I've tried other courses at the beginning of the semester at UG. I won't say the name, but I went there and I just found out the whole environment doesn't really help me. First, a lot of people, a lot of students. Back in my campus, it was all very small size. Yeah, here first a lot of students, and then the teacher speak really very low voice, but she didn't use the microphone. And the classroom's big, but the slides, the PowerPoint is tiny. Yeah, you can't see anything, but she's constantly pointing at it, and you just kind of feel confused, I quit that class, but it's not because of the professor that she's not. I believe she's great, but it's just the whole environment that it doesn't help. I don't think it helped me to focus and learn.
I'm happy that you said you had a traditional Chinese learning experience, and then you were moved to an American school. What does the switch in language do, or does it have any effect?
I was not confident to express myself. Sometimes ideas I can express it easily using Chinese, but I had this fear that, did I made it clear, or did I say it in a stupid way? Or I guess after 3 years staying at my American college, it's getting much better now. But I agree with that it definitely influenced my learning experience, and also sometimes influence the way you write. I was struggling using English, which is not my native language, to write.
Thanks so much, lady. So how would you say learning in Chinese?
学习.
学习?
Yes.
So what actually when I say in Chinese, that's not accurate. Should I be saying in Mandarin? Or should I say
Mandarin. Yeah, in Mandarin.
学习.
Yeah, 学习.
Excellent.
Very good.
Thank you so much, lady, for your time. So people have all these interesting experiences in the classroom in their bid to absorb information. Now, I'm curious as to what effort teachers put in to help their students absorb information better, or just to have a great experience in the classroom. Let's find out.
My name is Robin from New York. I think students learn most when all of their needs are met emotionally and physically. I think what's really super important in my classroom is the relationship that I have with the students and the rapport that I have with them. The more comfortable they feel, the more willing they are to open up and just let out all that information that they already have and take in new information. Especially language learners, they have to really feel comfortable because they don't want to make mistakes when they are practicing a new language. And I myself have had like a lot of difficulty learning another language. When I was teaching overseas, learning Arabic was not easy. I was picking up some of the phrases from hearing them, and I thought that I was saying it the way that I heard it, and no, it was not. And there were many times that I frustrated many people. I had a class that, I'm trying to repeat what I thought I heard the professor saying, and I was not. And he was so frustrated to the point that he just said, Allahu Akbar. And I was thinking, Allahu Akbar me, Allahu Akbar you. I'm saying what I need to say, and I'm saying what I think I hear. And that was like a light bulb moment for me. And it has helped me in my classroom, helped me teach others another language, because hearing the sounds, making the sounds that are not necessarily in your language is really difficult. I think one of the cutest stories I have about learning was my second year teaching. I was teaching fourth grade, and I had been teaching my heart out about graphs. And one of the little girls who was finding it particularly hard, generally, but she wanted to try so much because she wanted to get it right for me. And I just loved her spirit because she was such a sweet girl. Never really raised her hand or participated. So when I asked the question, okay guys, what have we been talking about? What kind of graphs have we been learning about? And each student, would raise their hand and say pie graph, circle graph. And I saw her, like a light came on, and she raised her hand and she was so excited to answer. And then she told me, para? And I just tried my hardest not to laugh. And I said, okay, yeah, a paragraph is definitely a graph of words, okay. And later on, when I talked to her about it, not in front of the class, she was so happy. She hugged me and she said, thank you for not saying it in front of everyone else. And from then on, it was like she was supercharged, and it was a lot easier for her to take chances in the classroom because she knew that if she failed or if she was successful, I had her back. And that was one of the stories I still love to tell.
Amin Ismail from Egypt. Looking back at the things I remember the most from a long time ago, I realized that all these things have some things in common, be it a song, a mnemonic, or some sort of analogy, that was most probably not related at all to the thing itself I was trying to learn. But so for example, I can still recite all the 50 states of the United States in alphabetical order because a song I learned in music class in elementary school. Also, I had a friend named Maggie, and as I was studying the function of magnesium in plants for biology class, I decided to associate it with my friend Maggie. So I went up to her and I told her that she's the reason plants are green, that she's the queen, and we all remember the function of magnesium because of that. I still, to this day, I make up songs and things like that, both for me and my students, because I find it's the best way to remember information easily. My students, a while back, were having a hard time with dividend, divisor, and quotient, figure out which one is which. So I tried explaining several times, but it wasn't really the math that they didn't get. They understood division just fine. So after thinking about it for a while, I told them that all they needed to do was to arrange them in alphabetical order. And it worked beautifully, and they are no longer confused about that, and they know it on their own. Like sometimes they even forget the trick.
Hello, I'm Akila from Sri Lanka. I had a chance to listen to your Could Language Impact Learning podcast. It's very interesting that My first language is Tamil, but I learned both English and Arabic as my second language. Dr. Cody has mentioned that not having a foundation of a second language will impact in their learning, which I felt true in my case. I used to have exposure to English and Arabic from my childhood, like just in the environment of speaking and acquiring the sounds first. Later, I started my Arabic studies as a language, and I was studying other things in Arabic. That I started it at the age of 12, which is late to acquire as a language, but I feel it's an okayish age that you can acquire its sounds and grammar and things like that.
Mnemonics, songs, interesting ones, mind you, being emotionally stable and comfortable, and being in the right environment. Clearly, if we want to get anything meaningful done in terms of learning, we have to get these right. These were common themes that ran through all of the experiences, and I believe that there's a reason why. Another thing that I don't think was covered much in the experiences shared was the use of cues. So yes, pictorial cues were mentioned, but it could also be a little folded note, a post-it, a colored object, something that serves as a cue or jogs your memory. That can be really helpful for children or even for adults who have memory difficulties. And I think as parents, it might be something that we want to invest in to help our children in class, where, sometimes the tests and assessments that we are given in class basically test their memory and not so much their ability. We'll get through it. We'll find ways to help them get through it. In finding things that help jog our memory, I believe that in these trying times where we are reminding ourselves to do fundamental things like washing our hands and like not touching our faces, like I mentioned in the beginning, whatever we need to do to serve as cues or to serve as memory jogs for us, let's find them, let's do them, especially for our children too, who might feel overwhelmed with everything that's going on. Talking about being overwhelmed, I would encourage that we keep calm and, as much as possible, manage our anxiety. If that means unplugging and staying away from the overflow of information that we're getting about the virus, let's do that, because it will pass. And when it does, I hope that we'll be able to meet up on the other side and enjoy another episode of Hearts and Minds Aloud. My name is Baba Dadzi, and you've been listening to Hearts and Minds Aloud. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and like this podcast. We're on Instagram and Facebook as Hearts and Minds Aloud. Thank you for listening. Until next week.